What is up, everyone? Insecure Penguin here, coming at you with a brand spanking new Destiny 2 video. To my few loyal and very patient subscribers, God bless your hearts. I want to let you know that I will be starting my journey in making Destiny 2 content here on YouTube. I've played both Destiny games since their launches, and I do feel that I can offer a bit of knowledge and experience that I've picked up over the years back to the community. Half of these are my accounts. Guys, Season of Opulence is less than a week away, and I figured that now is a better time than ever to put out a few tips to help some of you guys earn your recluses. Yes, like most Pinnacle weapons, you should be able to acquire this next season as well, but it's still definitely possible to get it now for those of you who are willing to grind it out. And as far as steps go, this is actually a real simple Pinnacle weapon to earn. All you gotta do is hit 2100, which might sound kind of intimidating, but it is very doable. Now before we get into it, I do want to just go ahead and let you guys know now that this video is going to be categorized via timestamps down in the description, so you are welcome to skip ahead to the portion that most applies to you. I would, however, encourage you to stick through the entire video, well, because you're never too good to learn a new trick. Now lastly, as you may have noticed, there is some comp gameplay in the background. Feel free to watch that. This is at around 2400 if I do recall correctly, and well, this is kind of what you're up against. So enjoy, and let's get right into it. Alright gamers, anyone who has ever watched a comp guide video knows this next tip is coming. I didn't even want to say it, but you know what? Ya boys gotta say it, because there is a slim chance that someone has not heard it. And you know what? Can't be that way. So here it is, gamers. Communication. Whether you are running in a pre-made group or you are running solo, you gotta communicate. You gotta talk to people. You need to call out enemy positions, enemy movements, and potential plays for your team. Now, voice comm is by far the most effective method of communication. But if for some reason that is unavailable to you, the PC version of the game also has a pretty helpful text chat. Now I have heard other YouTubers say this next thing in their guides, and being a great YouTuber as myself, I'm going to say the same thing here. And that is, feel free to use the comment section in this video as a group finder to put together your own fire team. Get out there and make some friends, you. Alright, now that that's out of the way, you boys gotta be honest with you. And the fact is that if you are unwilling to do any of the things that I just listed in regards to communication, you are putting yourself and your team at a severe disadvantage. Now, that said, the only remaining advice that I can offer you in regards to communication is to not be a blueberry. Now, if you are going to solo queue and refuse to communicate with your team, at least be a bunch of blueberries and not 4 individual ones. Now, what does old Papa Penguin mean by that? I mean, never get caught alone. Push together. If your team just got wiped out, don't just run back into the fray one by one. That is one of the easiest ways to lose a comp match. Wait for your team to respawn and push together again. Well, unfortunately, I talked a little bit more about communication than I intended to. If you have any more questions in regards to this topic, please feel free to ask me or some of the more experienced players in the comment section below. We are going to be getting into callouts now. Now guys, level with me for just a minute. It's going to sound like what I'm about to tell you in regards to callouts is going to be me just reiterating what I said about communication. But hear me out. I can't tell you how many times I have lost the game because of bad callouts, or people just clogging up communication in general. And I know some of you are probably thinking right now, Penguin, get to the point. What is a good callout? Well, a good callout is simply you relaying both helpful and accurate information to your team in regards to what the enemy team is up to. Did I mention it should be short, sweet, and to the point? A callout is not when you can express your extreme displeasure in that guardian who's flexing his Jotun all over your team. In fact, it's complaining like that both tilts your team and keeps them from being able to relay information to each other. And let's be honest, that other guy don't care that you hate his Jotun. So imagine this, guys. You're playing Control, and you get team shot at Zone A, which is in your team's possession, and you die. You know you saw 2 enemy players, and they're pushing the zone to cap it right now. Here's the call out, guys. I'm down, 2 pushing A. If one of them's got heavy ammo, let your team know. If one of them's almost dead, let your team know. One's absolute, he's one shot, you get the idea. So guys, what I'm trying to get at is just keep your callouts really short and accurate. It's kind of like shorthand writing, right? You don't want to waste a lot of time. You want to free up the communication lines so that again, your team can talk to each other. You will be amazed by how much further you can push in raiding if you can learn to just effectively communicate with each other. Alright guys, it's loadout time. Now what weapons should you be bringing into competitive? Well, I hate to tell you guys that it is a little complicated. You need to be thinking about what map you're playing on, what game mode you're playing, what is your team using, and most importantly, what is the enemy team using. So you should have multiple loadouts so you can choose the one that is most fitting for the match that you're about to play. And we're going to get back to that first question. What type of weapons should you be bringing into competitive? Well, what I'm about to share with you right now is solely my opinion, so you could disagree with me, and that's fine. You can use what you want. Technically, you can use any weapon type and make it viable. I am going to share with you the weapon types that I have found have been the most easy to use in competitive. First up is primaries. I can really only suggest hand cannons and pulse rifles in this current sandbox. A couple of exotic hand cannons I can recommend are the big 3. We have Ace of Spades, Thorn, and the Last Word. For legendary hand cannons, I can suggest both of the Gambit hand cannons, Trust and Spare Rations, Better Devils from the Crucible, and we have the Vanguard hand cannon called Service Revolver, hopefully found with a kill clip / rampage spec gifted to you from the RNG lords above. Now for pulse rifles, I suggest Blast Furnace, Bygones, even Last Perdition can be a good discount pulse rifle, as well as Outbreak Perfected, which can be really good at controlling crowds. For special ammo weapons, I can recommend shotguns, snipers, and some, emphasis on some, fusion rifles. Now for shotguns, there are 4 that I can suggest to you. We have 2 precision frame shotguns. We have the Dustrock Blues and the Retold Tale. And then we have 2 aggressive frame shotguns, which would be the Mindbender's Ambition and the Toil and Trouble. Now for snipers, I've had the most luck with the rapid fire frame snipers just because they're a little bit more forgiving when you miss. That roll with snapshot sights so that you can get that snappy handling that you kind of need to be able to snipe effectively. Now for fusion rifles, you'll just want to look for a high impact fusion rifle because they do tend to be a bit more consistent with the kills. They also do a lot of damage. Good one would be Erentil. Actually, in my opinion, that's the best one. And if you get one, you'll want to look for the backup plan perk, which allows you to quickly fire the weapon after swapping to it. And that leaves us with the heavy weapon slot. What type of heavy weapons should you be bringing into competitive? Well, the short answer is whatever you can use to secure very quick kills while using up all of the ammo. And the first weapons that come to mind would be grenade launchers and rocket launchers. Of course, you want the biggest blast radiuses possible on both of them. If you want to get really technical, you want to have proximity grenades on the grenade launcher and tracking module on the rocket launcher. And if you can afford to carry an exotic heavy weapon, hands down the Wardcliffe coil is by far the best decision. Now, the tractor cannon is also a decent selection, it just does not have the same range as the Wardcliffe coil. And if you're looking for a good laugh, you can always pick up the Colony. Now please don't be that person who brings a sword into competitive. Even if it is Black Talon, you are limiting yourself to range and you can easily be outgunned. Alright guys, it's looking like this is going to be a long one unfortunately, but our next topic is going to be game types and map strategies. We are going to start this next tip off by talking about my favorite game mode, which is Control, mainly because it offers a very important principle that we're going to be able to take in to the other game modes. And that principle is, yes, you guessed it, control. Control of, yes, of course, the zones to win the game, but more importantly, in control of the map, in control of the heavy ammo, and in control of where your opponents spawn. More on that later. By the way, I just said control like 5 times. Sorry about that. I am gonna say it more though. But seriously, how could a team be in control of all of those things in just one game mode? Well, it really comes down to who is in possession of the correct zones from the get-go. And yes, there are correct zones you should be playing for in the beginning. And that of course comes down to what map you're playing currently, and that's why we're here right now. I'm actually going to go through each map right now and show you what zones you should be playing for in the beginning. Alright, so I actually got these images off the Destiny 2 wiki, and these are real helpful. These are actually call-out maps. You can see all of the different zones on them. But what's really cool about these is that you can also see where the flags spawn, where the heavy is, all that good stuff. Alright, so when it comes to control, really you're only faced with a couple of options for your initial attack, and really it just depends on what map you're on. There's really 2 different kinds of maps. You have some where the B flag is right in the middle, and then you have some where the B flag is not in the middle, it's out in the boonies. And the map we're looking at right now, Altar of Flame, is a great example of a map that has the B flag smack dab in the middle. Now what else do we see is in the middle? Yep, that's right, heavy ammo. Which means your team is faced with the dilemma, do you play for heavy or do you play for the flag? Now if this were my team, I would play for the heavy because I would be running with someone who has a powerful heavy weapon, probably myself, that I know is going to help me take the B flag even if the other team takes it. Because again, we are playing for middle map dominance, and that heavy ammo might be exactly what we need to secure that. And in most cases, the team that can control heavy ammo will control the B flag as well. And that's practically the strategy for maps like this, with B and heavy right in the middle. You either control A and B or C and B as well as heavy ammo. This strategy will work on the following maps. We have Bannerfall, Endless Vale, Jav 4, Solitude, The Dead Cliffs, and Meltdown, but be careful about that heavy around the corner at B. It's a little trickier because you can't have a straight line of sight from heavy to the flag. Now I know I didn't name all of the control maps right now. I did that for a reason. There are a few maps where B again is way out of the way, and it is actually more beneficial to just charge your opponent's spawn flag and have A and C and let them take B. Most teams will rush the B flag and leave their flag unguarded. And at the end of the day, the less space between your team's 2 flags means more time for your team to control the center of the map. And here are the maps where you can use this strategy. Well, besides the one you're looking at now, of course. We have the Burnout, where you can hold A and C and farm them outside of the building while they try to push in. And we have Distant Shore, one of my all-time favorite maps. Now technically, C and B are the closest together, however, there's a lot of obstacles in between those 2 points, so I tend to go for C and A to get those ranges between so I can cover both flags pretty quickly. It's a bit harder to pull this strat off on this map, but it can be done if your team has good center control. Now one last tip for you guys that I find to be very helpful. In control, you really only want to have 2 points so that you can allow the other team to spawn at the 3rd point. Now if you push in too deep and farm them, they're going to swap spawns and then they're going to take one of your points. So just take your time, farm them as they run to you, and you should win pretty easily. That is if your team is winning their gunfights and their 1v1s, which unfortunately is an entirely different topic altogether. Now those are some real basic tips for control that hopefully will help you guys out. Now as we look into Clash and the other game modes, we're going to be able to use those principles that we just went over. So in regards to Clash, and really honestly Survival as well, we want to maintain this mid dominance of the map. That means that we're controlling heavy ammo, and again we are controlling where the enemy spawns, not pushing in too deep, not making them flip spawns, but just farming them as they come out. So the best remaining advice in regards to these 2 game modes I can give you is really focus on sticking together and team shotting as much as you can. I know some people say they want to flank, they want to go off and do their own thing, and while flanking is important, it's best to do it with another person on your team, or more importantly, to flank as a team. But what I'm getting at is it is absolutely detrimental to your team, especially in survival and countdown, which we'll get into in a minute, to have even one person go down a little early on your team. And if the enemy team is team shotting like they most likely will be in competitive, your team's going to be in trouble being down one player. So this really comes back to the whole not being a blueberry thing. Stick together, be in communication with each other, and maintain control of the map. And again, all of this is assuming that your team is good at their 1v1s. I know sometimes you may lose a 1v1. I don't know where you're at with your personal skill, but I can tell you, as I said earlier, it all depends on how you handle somebody going down on your team. You know, are you gonna run back one at a time and feed the enemy team lives? That is the easiest way, like I said earlier, to lose a comp match, especially a game like survival or even countdown. So in short, I'm just telling you guys to play for your lives a little bit more. And while we're on the subject of playing for your lives, let's talk about the dreaded game of countdown. Now in essence, countdown itself is very easy. You just set the charge and don't die. Those are the only things you have to do. Set the charge, don't die, or defuse the charge and not die. But I see too many people run off and make really risky plays, and it ends up costing our team the loss. So without sounding like a broken record and saying for like the 10th time to play for your lives, which again you should do, I'm just going to tell you to focus on not being the first person to die on your team, meaning don't make risky plays. If you are attacking, commit to one side and push together. And if you are defending, find out by splitting up in pairs of 2 where the enemy team is going, call it out to your team, and then regroup and push them together. Alright, enough about game modes. I just have a few more pro tips and then I'm gonna let you guys go because I am trying to keep this under 20 minutes. Alright everyone, it's time to talk about supers. And regardless of how you feel about them, they are incredibly dominant in the current sandbox, which means you are downright hurting your team's chances of winning if you are not spec'd to actually get your super quickly. There is no reason why you should not have 5 super mods on your armor. Now when it comes down to which supers you should actually be bringing into comp, my suggestion is bring really any roaming super that can bag you a lot of kills. And I think it's okay to have one shutdown super on your team if you absolutely want to have that Blade Barrage or that Thunder Crash. It can stop your opponent's momentum, but my first choice would be the roaming supers. And please, please, please do not pop supers at the same time. There's almost no reason to ever do that. In fact, what it does is it limits your ability to get the max amount of kills since there's only 4 opponents to kill and the other super is most likely getting it. And so again, this comes back to being in comms. You need to be talking with your team who's going to super and when. Also, make sure you're following whoever is supering so you can pick up the orbs that they drop, which will allow you to get your super so you can super so they can follow you and pick up the orbs. It's an endless cycle of supers. If you've never focused on any of the things I've said in regards to supers, this will dramatically increase your team's ability to win. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I'm going to leave you guys with just a couple extra, I guess they're bonus tips, I just couldn't think of a category for them. These are going to be things that you can do outside of the game that can help improve your competitive performance. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is to not play when you're exhausted. Comp can be strenuous on your brain, so you need to do something to allow it to rest. Close your eyes for 30 minutes, go for a walk, do something that will not put any stress on your mind. If you want to perform well in comp, then you yourself need to be at peak performance. Have some coffee before you play, and know when to quit when you are out of focus and you are on a losing streak. I know you can do this. If you liked the video or you found it helpful, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the Crucible.